Hello everyone, welcome back to another stream on Fantasy Football Scout. Today I'm joined with Gianni Buttici as usual, and we're going to take a look ahead for game week 37. 2 game weeks left in the season, and we'll also have a look at how my team is for game week 36. Gianni, how are we keeping?
Yeah, man, I'm really well. This is our penultimate episode together because I doubt we'll do one on a Sunday of 38 because that's the deadline. I don't know. I don't. Yeah. So anyway, I'm very well, mate. I'm on bench boost this week, which so far hasn't necessarily been a good week for those that I put on the bench boost. Players like Eight Nori, players like Kepper. Um, but to be fair, I don't think very few have had a good bench boost this season. Let us know your bench boost scores for those that went with the sort of more template strategy of a bench boost 32, 33. I think most were like sort of 6 to 10 points. Yeah, man, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all good, man. And having a decent game week, which definitely makes it a bit easier. Currently sitting on 30 points. I took a -4, so 34 -4, which is not a bad start. I still have six to play, which should be interesting.
Did your captain play?
Yeah, he has, unfortunately, Kevin De Bruyne.
See, I went in Burmo. We're on the same. I'm on 34 with six to play as well. I didn't take a 4 point hit though. I did make two transfers. Were you reacting to team news? Is that where the 4 point hit came in? Did you see the leaks, the Haaland news, the De Bruyne news, the Marmoush news? Because I ended up selling Marmoush for Cunha, which sucked because Cunha got 0 points. He got a yellow card and came off before 60. He actually looked quite good other than that. But, it was a typical Cunha display. It's like he's going to either score a worldie and he had a really good shot from the box well saved, or he's going to get a yellow card and get subbed off.
Yeah, exactly that. I was reacting to the Marmoush news. I kept Marmoush actually because I'm fairly confident he's going to start the next game against Bournemouth, I believe. And I actually sold Solanke for a hit to bring in Chris Wood.
Yeah, well, Chris Wood could pay off for that. So, mate, we've gone down similar strategies. I was very close to buying Wood, and instead I bought Cunha, but I did make a midfield transfer. I bought in Alanga. So we've both got a Forest attacker, which feels quite fun for Leicester, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I thought Wood be a bit more popular. I also made a midfielder transfer, Jenny. That's why I took a hit. I don't think you'll like this one. I brought in Cole Palmer with Newcastle.
I like it. I do
Really?
like it. I nearly bought, mate. I had a plan in place, right? We all did. If we were to hear De Bruyne is benched or Marmoush is benched, what do you do? And my plan was Marmoush is benched, I buy Cunha. If De Bruyne is benched, I buy Palmer. So I guess, in a way, could have bought Palmer this week as well. I just think he turned a corner last time round, and I really like his matchup in 37 against Man United.
Yeah, he'll be my captain next week. And Cole Palmer, 5% owned around my rank, which is a
Wow.
small bit ridiculous. Like, I feel like a player of his caliber, even though he's been very poor recently. But like you said, that Liverpool game, I just feel like he needed a bit of a kick in confidence. And let's see what he can do against Newcastle.
Mate, there's FPL managers out there, a lot of the analytics crowd actually, I think, who will say form isn't a thing. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me form doesn't exist. I introduced Cole Palmer to you, ladies and gents. I think we can safely say like he's gone from an avoiding FPL to a good pick, not because he picked up a goal and some FPL points, but because his performance last week was so good against Liverpool. That was a player that's changed his form. I was actually speaking to someone over the weekend that spends a lot of time with former Premier League footballers, and he's a big FPL manager. I won't say who he is, but he said he said it really bugs me on Twitter timeline when you see some people digging out like form doesn't exist. He was like, I spend a huge amount of time with Premier League footballers, and they all tell me form is so important, especially to attacking players and goalkeepers. He's like, don't tell me goalkeepers and attackers that score goals don't go on runs of hot streaks and form. Of course form exists. So yeah, from the horse's mouth almost, professional footballers saying, shock, form exists.
No, for sure, it absolutely does. But again, I feel like when good players catch form, it's a different story to an
True.
average Joe. For example, I think a good example of that is Bruno Fernandes. He'd be one that we say he doesn't need to be necessarily on good form, but when he is on good form, he performs at next level. And same with Palmer, in my opinion. He'll come back to form and we'll remember how good he is. Maybe it won't be this season, it might be next. But
Yeah, you
yeah,
have to look at what's around them as well. Like you could argue with Bruno, Like Bruno early on in the season when you owned him and he was blanking, that wasn't bad form. I don't think Bruno has lost form at all this season. I think Bruno's been good all year. I just think he had bad players and tactics and management around him. Like Bruno's been awesome. He's just this is a team sport and one player can only do so much. Bruno's okay FPL season is down to the fact that he's not had a well functioning attack around him, not because he's been off his game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would agree with that, to be honest. On that point, let me move on to my game week 36 team, Jaddy.
Yeah, how's it looking? So you said you took a 4-point hit. So you planned on one transfer, did you? And then you got them. Or were you always planning on two? Were you always planning on selling Solanke?
I was gonna hold on to Marmoush if he was starting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Solanke was going for Wood. Is whether or not I was gonna bring in Palmer. But yeah, it worked out so far. I started Martinez and Konsa over the two Arsenal guys. Ruben Diaz with an extra 3 points, which is unusual. Usually it's Guardiola who always sneaks in there, but this time around Ruben Diaz gets his 3 points. De Bruyne, which was unfortunate with a 6-point captaincy, 0-0 versus Southampton, and I think Southampton only had like an 8% chance at the start of the week. So
Wow.
definitely disappointing, but to be honest, I don't really mind because it was a decision I knew I was going to do at the start of the week, and I wouldn't change it.
We both did. Were you like me and you captained De Bruyne last week?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah. So it was because he did so well for us. It was really easy to sort of keep the eye on him, and I planned to. What got it for me was De Bruyne was my captain all week. I was saying I was tempted on a Burmo, but I was on De Bruyne. But I did then change my mind in the morning and when if we get a leak that Haaland starts. Now some will say De Bruyne is better for that. I just felt like that was enough to turn me off De Bruyne. I felt with no Haaland in the team, one, De Bruyne could play as the number 9. We've seen that a bit in Haaland's absence. And two, I thought he might get a sympathy penalty. Like, let's say Man City are 2-0 up. We don't know who's on pens with no Haaland. We assume it's Marmoush, but I fancy if they're 2-0 up, Haaland's not on the pitch, Marmoush gives the ball to De Bruyne to score the third, because he's leaving. But then when I saw Haaland was starting, I was like, I'm not going to get number 9 De Bruyne, and I'm not going to get a sympathy penalty. And I think it was just that 1%, because, fine margins that swung me to Mbermo. But it turns out Mbermo didn't haul anyway. You've only lost 6 points there. It's nothing crazy. 3 points you've lost, I think.
Yeah, it's not too bad, to be honest. Another captain I definitely considered was Chris Wood when I brought him in. I realised that, they're fighting for top 5, of course, and really, really good fixture for Wood. I feel like, do you think he's gone underneath the radar a small bit, Gianni, for these last 3 games?
Mate, I was so close to buying him. And I went Cunha, but that was only because I knew I could still cover that Forest attack with Alanga. I would say Wood and Alanga have both gone under the radar because people will say, oh, they're not scoring goals, they're not playing well. But Leicester is just a different category of fixture. And then next week it's West Ham. Again, I fancy Forest. So I think Wood's a really good pick. I still preferred Wissa and I still just preferred Cunha if you could get to Alanga and still cover the attack. But yeah, it's a little amount in it. And I think Wood's going to get you something. I really do.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd be surprised if he doesn't. Also, Eze and Sarr and Nose triple up on Crystal Palace. I don't love it, Gianni. I don't know what you think about it versus Spurs. Do you think they'll get many minutes?
Man, I think you're fine this week. It's next week, which is the problem, isn't it? Like, most managers are on Triple Palace because if they wildcarded when you did, they all went Triple Palace. And it's been difficult to sell Palace players because in their own right, they're good picks. Spurs is a good fixture. I can't see why they wouldn't play. Like, it's the FA Cup final still a week away. It's after the FA Cup final. Is it 3 days they've got till their game week 37 fixture? If they win, they're in party mode and I think there's rotation. If they lose, it's just 3 days later, they probably want to rotate. So I can't see a world in which Palace are full strength for that 37 fixture. There's every chance either Eze or Sarr starts, or every chance Munoz or Mitchell start, for example, one of the fullbacks. But it won't be the 11 you expect. It will be like 5-6 changes, I'd have thought, in 37.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
What will you do then? Will you probably sell a Palace player or two next week?
That's what I mean. I'm really unsure. And again, when we get onto the game week 37 team selection, we'll have a look at that. But yeah, I think Sarr will probably make way. For who though is the question. I feel like it's getting really tricky towards the end of the season. on who to go with. And we've just got a £2 super chat from Malky. Good to see you, Malky. He says, Beto captain versus Southampton for the last game at Goodison Park. What do you think?
It's fine. Yeah, it's not a bad shout. I mean, next week, 37 captains are going to be interesting. If Salah could be popular versus Brighton and Burmo could be popular home to Fulham. But if you want to do a bit of a Hail Mary at the end of the season, then, Beto was awesome yesterday. Beto's goal against Fulham yesterday was not a standard Beto goal. It was a really good hit from the angle, like 20 yards out, I think it was-ish. I think it was on the edge of the box. So, fair play. Like, Beto versus Southampton the final day, you've got to expect Everton to score a couple of goals at Goodison.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with that, Malky. A bit of fun. Southampton, they might go for it as well with their last game of the season. Or last game at Goodison as well. So I feel like you're more likely to get more goals in a game where Southampton are playing a lesser caliber team rather than City. They'll just sit back and waste time. They might actually go for it. But yeah, Jenny, potentially our last
I need to ask you about your Villa defenders. Fair play. Double up. Konza and Martinez was massive for you yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. And last week I got stung by not trusting the boys. This time around, held faith and even got some bonus points to come with it. So absolutely delighted with that. I mean, there was no doubt I was going to play him over the Arsenal guys, but worked out in my favour.
Yeah, massively. I was a bit surprised yesterday with Bournemouth. Like they dropped my boy Justin Kluivert, who I wildcarded in only a few weeks ago. I really needed Kluivert to play yesterday. I was disappointed. I think he came on at half time, did he? Like it was strange that you don't see half time subs that much for attackers, but it was almost like I got it wrong. We need something. Kluivert comes off the bench. So I hope we don't see that from Iraola again. It's worth noting, a couple of weeks ago, I think he benched Semenyo out of nowhere. So Iraola is one of those managers that can throw it. Like no one saw Semenyo getting benched a few weeks ago, and no one saw Kluivert getting benched this weekend. So just worth noting that on Iraola. Whether it's a sort of end of season fatigue thing, I'm not sure. But yeah, just worth noting that those attacking midfield spots aren't all necessarily 100% nailed at Bournemouth at the minute.
Yeah, it's unfortunate as well. I mean, I thought Kluivert would have been a good move as well on wildcard. I probably would have done the same.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the final day of the season. I think he's got Leicester at home. If he doesn't start that, I'm going to be sick because that's part of the reason I bought him. It was with 38 in mind.
Yeah, you'd be absolutely good. So, Jenny, I'm currently sitting at 163k. We've got 2 game weeks left. Do let us know in chat what rank you're currently sitting at and what your goal is. Jenny, is it possible that I break back into the top 100k?
Only if Mo Salah blanks the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's
if Salah
big,
bangs,
big
you're dead and buried.
Yeah.
But if Salah blanks, you've got every chance. It's such a fine line. It feels like it's dependent on Mo Salah.
And also Palmer. I think a lot depends on Palmer. If Palmer matches Salah, then it might nullify it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, let me change that. Okay, it's not if Salah bangs. It's if Salah massively outscores Palmer in the next 2-3 weeks, then you can't do it. But yeah, if Palmer matches Salah, you've got every chance.
Saying that,
or if Palmer outperforms him, bingo.
Yeah, and a Chris Wood hat-trick would do me nicely. That would jump me straight up. So,
have you looked at Salah's EO? What is Salah's EO this week against you? Do you know?
I haven't a clue.
It must be over 100%. It must be close to around 100% mark.
Can I find
I'll have a look at my rank. Let's have a look. Okay, top 10k, he's 95. At my rank, he's 100. So okay, and I'm at 392. So yeah, okay, Salah's around 100% EO for you. So it's actually it's not the worst week to be backing against him, is it? Like Mbeumo was way higher, 138.
No, absolutely not the worst week. Nemenja says he's 21k with 8 to play today. Shiv says he's at overall 780. Fair play. I remember those days. Derek O'Reilly says he's at 1.4 million. He's having an absolute disaster of a season. Magic says 53k. Some decent ranks in chat. Fair play. Look, I'm not going to write off 100k yet. I just need to be really, really jammy. And I know I have that in me somewhere. I just don't know if it's going to happen this season. Jenny, let's move on to my game week 37 team selection. So
Cole Palmer starts, by the way, just FYI.
Okay, brilliant. So in front of you, I have my game week 37 team selection. I'll read it out for anyone that's listening on audio. On goal, we've got David Raya. 3 at the back, Munoz, Saliba, Ruben Diaz. 5 in middle, Eze, Palmer, Embuemo, Sarr, De Bruyne. And up top, Wood and Isaac. On the bench, we've got Martinez, Marmoush, Byrne, and Konsa. Now, I would say I'm likely to throw Marmoush back in. I would say I think it's unlikely that he doesn't get a start versus Bournemouth. What do you think, Jenny?
Well, the fact they drew yesterday, that Bournemouth game's not a dead rubber, is it? Like City could still, mathematically, they're not home and dry with top 5. So Pep will want them to get a result. This is Bournemouth, which is a potential banana skin fixture. So yeah, I hear you. I'd start him too. There's every chance if they'd beaten Southampton yesterday and they win the FA Cup, you just think Marmoush plays 90 in the FA Cup, that Pep could go and sort of put out a bit of a B team on the Tuesday night. But I don't know if he can now. I haven't looked at the table in detail, and I know City will get top 5, but it's not 100% will get top 5 now because they dropped points yesterday.
Yeah, of course Gordon is starting after just getting rid of him.
Yeah, I've just sold Murphy as well. I wasn't 100% sure Murphy would start because I thought Barnes has been playing so well.
Yeah, no, it's just disappointing because I started him out of 3 or 4 weeks, which, I mean, that was my own bad. I think I just kind of made my own bed and limited it, kept starting him. I think, any thoughts on getting rid of Isaac this week, Gianni? I really like my team this week, first off, I'd say. I feel like there's some really good fixtures and home fixtures. And I can be quite flexible with one free transfer, in my opinion, getting rid of, for example, Isaac.
Mate, I'm not set that I'm going to have Isak in my team either. Isak to Watkins is a legit option for me. And then I'd captain Watkins against Spurs.
I love that, yeah.
You did that a lot, right? If we go back 2-3 months ago, you backed against Isak and everyone was like, oh, you're going with that Isak, what are you doing? And yes, you missed out on some points from Isak, but you gained a huge amount of points from Watkins. I think you probably were slightly down. It wasn't quite par, but you didn't really miss out massively because Watkins still stepped up for you.
Yeah, what killed me was the captaincies on Isaac, though.
Yeah, true.
There was a week where he got a hat-trick, and I think without that, it would have been fine. But other than that, I mean, yeah, Watkins did do quite well. This fixture versus Tottenham, it's not going to be a nice one, I don't think. Of course, we have the final on the 21st. Massive final, Johnny. Absolutely buzzing. I don't think we've quite spoke about it yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting for FPL as well because you think going into it, there's the managers probably want certain players getting minutes in their legs and building up an 11 that could be playing the final. But at the same time, there's going to be caution and distraction there. I saw, you would have watched this, Ange Postecoglou's post-match sort of chat in the dressing room that Spurs put out. And what was really interesting, he was like, we've got 16 days to the final and every day matters. And of the preparation every day, the matches we play between now and then. And I just don't think like Spurs and United are going to roll over in the next 2 games that people are expecting. Like we've all said, target Spurs, target Man United. And we've had every right to say that when they've had European trips on the Thursdays. But now they've got a couple of weeks until another European fixture and they need to be good going into that final. So I don't think it is necessarily operation target Spurs and Man United like it was 2 weeks ago, you know?
Yeah, has Choi booked his hotel for Bilbao over at 2K? And Chess Econ says, Harry Kane has also won a trophy. Is it time for Son next? I'll be an absolute dreamland, Johnny. I know, I think it makes for a really interesting game. Look, what he said about who we're going to line up, I'd imagine a lot of key players would be rested. Van de Ven, Romero, Solanke. I think, other than that, you could see anyone.
This week or next? Next week?
This week or next week?
For big names being rested.
I want to say next week versus Villa.
Yeah.
I think you could see a 60-minute Solanke potentially. I do feel like one of Romero or Van de Ven will be rested this week. I don't see 2 of them playing. Again, they could.
For me, I'm with you. I think it feels like Spurs players are more likely to will be rested this weekend, and then next week against Villa, I think that'll be full strength-ish.
Really?
You know?
What's the turnaround from the final from Villa? Let me check real quick. 21st and Villa is on the 16th, so it's 5 days. Man United have 5 days as well.
Maybe not. I didn't realise it was only 5. I thought it was more like 6-7 days. So maybe Villa is going to be rotation then. It's so hard because if you play today and then you don't start the Villa game, and you're not playing till the final, the 21st of May, that's like, oh, you're going 11 days, 10 days without a start.
Yeah,
Some
that's
players
what I'm
need a
fairly
start more
sure
than,
they'll get good minutes today.
10 days is a big gap.
Yeah. I look. I think as long as you wrap the main guys in wool, I'm not too concerned.
Centre backs.
Yeah, the centre backs. Anyone but Van de Ven or Romero getting injured, I'm happy. By the way, Romero's never lost the final, but I digress. Final, he would lose.
I didn't know that stat, but of course, yeah, Romero, World Cup winning Romero. How do you fancy that game going then? How are you feeling about it?
I do feel it will be cagey. I think it might go to extra time as well. You know what? I fancy our chances. I don't think because recent results versus United have been so good. United fans will say, you know, you're Spurs, you can't win a trophy, but 3 times we've beaten them this season. I don't think we've lost to them since 2022, which is a long while away now. Again, don't quote me on that stat, but that's why I kind of fancy our chances. And to be honest, it's better than Liverpool by a country mile. We've lost to City a few times in cups. Arsenal, I wouldn't want to play. United, who haven't won their worst seasons ever. I mean, if we were to ever do it, Gianni, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's one of those classics, but I feel like Spurs fans will remember this fondly. The Spurs-Liverpool final in the Champions League, it was so boring. It was so bad. It was the early penalty, which probably was harsh from Spurs, and then it was a stalemate, and Kane was injured, but he played, blah, blah, blah. If we get anything like a Barcelona-Inter, imagine that as a final between Man United and Spurs going at each other, like you go, I go, like a basketball game. I would love that sort of final, but you rarely see it in big games, which is why the Champions League semi-final goes down as one of the best European nights in history. Shout out Inter Milan. But I don't know. I think United are probably, in my head, slight favourites, but I can't call it. It could go either way, and I'm on the fence. I would love Spurs to win it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, the bookies have United as favourites marginally, though. Yeah, no, I think a lot of people are actually coming out of the bushes saying they might fancy Spurs, especially with the Ange quotes, saying that he always wins things in seconds. That is so bold. And Gianni, if he goes on to do it, like, we'll have a statue outside our stadium after finishing 16th in the league. Do you know, at the start of the season, you see these polls on Twitter. It's like, would you rather finish 17th to win a trophy or finish in the top 4? We've actually come to this position, and I don't know how.
It's so ballsy of when the pressure was on Ange, that he came out with the "I always win" stuff quote, and this was 6 months ago, or whenever it was,
and he doubled down.
The pressure's been on him all season, isn't it? Like, he's done amazingly well to hold that dressing room together. It has to be said, because whilst the performances haven't been great and the fans have turned on him, the dressing room itself, I think they're still playing for him. I think his tactics can be wacky, and I think they can be loose, and I don't think he should necessarily be in the job next year. But Spurs wouldn't sack him as long as he was having a good cup run. And if he can get Champions League football for Spurs, no matter how he's got it, fair play. And that's why, as a neutral, I think I kind of want Spurs to win it.
Yeah, if we go and win that, it'll be ridiculous.
If you win it, though, the one thing I would say, definitely for Man United and probably for Spurs, and it'd be amazing. Of course, you want Champions League football, but I have heard people say, and financially, of course, you want Champions League football. If Spurs or Man United are in the Champions League next season, don't expect their league form to improve, because that distraction of having to go full strength on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, that's hard going. And teams like Arsenal and Chelsea and Man City, they're used to it, but the Man United squad and the Spurs squad, what they really need is time on the training ground. They need a full midweek on the training ground, and then to be fresh every weekend where they can actually win some Premier League football matches, which they haven't done for a long time. And one of them is going to have Champions League next year, and they're not going to be able to do that. And I think as a league form, as a team with FPL in mind, let's say Spurs win it, I won't touch them with FPL next season, or certainly not around Champions League games.
Yeah, it's going to be... United are going to probably invest, you'd imagine, even more next season. Spurs, on the other hand, if we get to the Champions League, I don't know what is going to happen. I know right now we can only buy players with what we sell, which is nothing new for Spurs, and you can't imagine it'll be much come the summer, regardless of what happens in Champions League. I'm just going to put up a poll for who you have for the Europa League. People are saying, let's do a poll, let's do United and Spurs.
Love that.
I
Yeah,
wonder.
Nemanja, I can see suggested that. We do read the chat, guys. Thank you for your comments. We also see who likes and subscribes. So we would absolutely love you to hit those buttons this morning.
Absolutely that. And who do you think is going to run away with this poll, Gianni? I think it is going to be United. I'd imagine there'll be more United fans.
United will win the poll, 100%. Oh, you what? Maybe not.
We'll keep tabs on it. Maybe they just like Choi. I don't know. Okay, going back to my FPL team.
Maybe you bring a Spurs audience with you.
Yeah, maybe.
Because there's always more United fans in the chat than any other fan group. Always. When I do when most people stream, but maybe it's your following. Yeah, Spurs bias.
Yeah. So going back to my team, Gianni. What is the obvious move for my team, or is there one? I mean, I could even roll and start Marmoush over.
I think you've got to sell a Palace player because I think there's a very good chance one or two of them don't start.
Yeah, but starting a Marmoush and a Konsa over Sarr and Eze even. You know what I mean?
Fair. Okay.
Is that plausible?
Who's your standout captain? You want to go Palmer. If you own your captain, because I would say you could go Isak to Watkins.
No, I'm going to go Palmer for sure.
You're going to be captain Palmer. Well, okay, forget captaincy. Isak to Watkins is still a transfer you could make, or are you not so keen? Villa obviously have so much to play for, as do Newcastle. But Newcastle have got Chelsea, and then Newcastle have got Arsenal. Watkins has got Spurs, and on the final day of the season, what's the 38 fixtures for Newcastle and Villa?
Let's have a look. In Gameweek 38. Villa play United, and Newcastle play Everton.
So Villa play United. How many days after the Europa League? So they play United 4 days after the Europa League final.
Yeah, so the final's on the 21st.
So that's a good fixture for Ollie Watkins.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know I've said don't target Man United and Spurs yet, but 38, a recovery off the back of the Europa. Their league position is dead. Owning Brighton players versus Spurs and Villa players versus Man United in 38. It's 4 days after one of those teams massively celebrates and the other team is literally in mourning. Like if Spurs lose and Postecoglou's been sacked, like buy a Brighton and Villa player in 38. Or obviously Arsenal have Southampton, Liverpool are at home lifting the trophy versus Palace. There's narrative there on 38. But if you can, mate, maybe roll the transfer and have 2 for 38.
Yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? And then target that team who lost the final.
Target the team that loses the final and buy a Brighton attacker, buy Danny Welbeck, or go and buy Ollie Watkins because, that team's on the Wednesday night, been in Bilbao, maybe played 120 minutes and lost on penalties. You know, you can build it like could be quite fun that reacting to the Europa League fight the 21st.
So what you're telling me is bring in Ollie Watkins because he plays against Spurs this weekend and United the next.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm looking to do.
No, you might be onto something. No, but
I also like Cole Palmer though. I have thought myself, how do you feel about De Bruyne? It's his last home game. But if he starts the FA Cup final, let's say he plays 90 minutes versus Palace in the FA Cup final. Does he still start in the Etihad in his last game, or does he come off the bench and get a standing ovation at? Does he start and get 60 and get a standing ovation, or does he just come on at 30? Like, he's going to be surely gutted if he doesn't start that football match. But if he starts the FA Cup final and he started yesterday, could he get 3 starts in sort of 9-10 days? Is that pushing it for De Bruyne? I don't know.
I think it is probably pushing it a small bit. I could easily see him come off the bench versus Bournemouth rather than starting it, especially if he gets lots of minutes in the final. Saying that though, I can't see him getting 90 in the final. I don't know about you. What do you think?
Yeah, it depends, I guess, on game state. Yesterday, I think he did. I don't know if the plan was to play him for 90 yesterday and they just left him on the pitch because it was 0-0. But yeah, if we look at his minutes in the last 5-6 league games, he's had 93 times and he's had an 83, an 87 and an 86. So he does get a couple of, 50% of the time he comes off. But when he does, it's in the 85th minute, like it's in the final. And with that in mind, makes me question if I want him in 37. Now, I know there's narrative there with his last game at the Etihad, but It's Fulham at the Cottage after that, and I'm not sure he starts game week 38. I know that would be his last game in a City shirt, but I feel like his last game in a City shirt will be medal round his neck at Wembley or um, or at the Etihad. In my head, that kind of works. And I could go. I've left enough money in the bank this week to go De Bruyne to Parma, and that's something I'm considering.
That would be really interesting. And will we get a leak for this Bournemouth game? I can't remember what time it's on.
No, because the deadline's passed weeks before,
Oh,
days
yes.
before.
Yes.
It's a Tuesday night, isn't it?
Yeah.
The deadline's Friday before. So we have to watch the FA Cup final and go, oh, De Bruyne could get injured. De Bruyne could play 120 minutes. You know, it's risky.
Yeah, it's very risky. But what about Cole Palmer then? What would you need to see something big from him today to bring him in?
No, I don't think I would. I want him regardless because I saw what he did last week against Liverpool and I know what he's like at Stamford Bridge. Now, Newcastle today, who knows? He might struggle against them because they can be very good defensively at St James's Park and they could park the bus. But against Man United, it's a different story.
I'd agree, especially with that fixture
Bridge.
at the final. So
he's a Boyd United fan as well.
Yeah, and he does well against the likes of City as well. So let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who else is there up for a captaincy, Gianni? Salah?
Mate, I think if Salah does well today as well, especially, a lot will want him for Brighton. So Salah's fine, but I think Mbeumo as well. Like Mbeumo was actually quite unlucky to only get the 6 points yesterday. He had a really good shot on the angle, well saved. There could have been at least one penalty in that match, at least one penalty, possibly two, both from tugging down from contact. VAR looked at both. And Fulham, they've just conceded 3 goals to Everton. Now Everton don't score 3 goals against many. You would say Fulham are pretty much done, and there's talk that Marco Silva is off to Saudi. Fulham season's done, and Mbeumo wants to end on a high, and he wants to get Brentford into the European spots. And if they beat Fulham, they'll probably do that. It's a big West London derby, and Mbeumo's a really good captaincy option too.
I don't know if I agree with that, Jenny. I don't know. I feel like that's a tough fixture.
You reckon? Even with Fulham's being on the beach and Silva leaving, and
yeah, I still think it will be a hard, like a cagier game. I could be completely wrong.
There is beef there between those teams. They hate each other, so I get it. There should be motivation for Fulham.
Absolutely. I think that definitely changes the dynamic, I guess. But I do get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So my transfer for this week, I don't think I have one in mind specifically. I think I need to see what happens in the FA Cup. Yeah, I really don't know, Gianni.
Yeah, it's your decision is going to go down to the wire, and it's a Friday night deadline, isn't it? There's 2 games on the Friday. Have you seen that? It's
Villa, Spurs, Chelsea,
Villa
United.
game came in, yeah, and then there's nothing on the Saturday. So you've got to have the Friday night games, and then live with if you've captained, I don't know, Salah doesn't play to the Monday night, or whatever.
Yeah, I think I wonder is there any possibility of bringing in the likes of a Diogo Jota, potentially someone like that, because try cover some sort of Liverpool because they're going to score goals regardless.
The problem is it's just predicting the starts, isn't it? Whether you go Diaz, Gakpo, or Jota, none of them are nailed. Yeah, could he give a sympathy start to a Harvey Elliott or a Chiesa, and actually then even less chance of one of those? Like the only guy we know is starting every game for the next 3 and probably playing 90 in the next 3 is Mo Salah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a bit stumped, to be honest. What do you think of playing the Arsenal guys against Newcastle at home rather than Martinez and Consa versus Tottenham? Do you think I should hedge my bets, or do you like the way it is?
I think I'd go one of each, and I know that's cautious, but I just think back, and I know I've said I could sell Isak to Watkins, but Isak did bully the Arsenal centre-backs in the EFL Cup semi-final 2-leg. Like, everyone will remember that obviously Newcastle won the EFL Cup, and they got there by Isak tearing apart Saliba and Gabriel in both games. I've never seen Gabriel and Saliba torn apart like that, and Isak turned it on. And if Newcastle needs something from that football match, it's another cup final, and I expect them to score. And Villa have just kept 2 clean sheets in 3.
Yeah, it was absolutely disgusting, that final or that game. Sorry. Um, I get what you're saying. And again, Spurs being probably going to be a bit flat going into Gameweek 37, I'd imagine. So maybe starting Martinez, potentially get some save points, and Saliba for some goal threat rather than Konsa. I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I like that. I think I like that.
Yeah, I don't think I've anything left. Johnny, potentially our final stream here. Do hit that like button for us if you are enjoying the stream.
No, it can't be our final. We'll be back next week, won't we?
Will we? Yeah.
Well, it'll be next week. Will be it'll be 37.
37 Sunday. Yeah. No, we'll be back. We'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay. Second last stream. I
tell you what, though, mate. When we stream next Sunday, there'd have only been 2 games played of the game week so far.
So we're basically gonna be at where we are now.
Pretty much,
except I have my captain play.
Got everyone to play. Maybe we try and move that stream to like a Monday or a Tuesday. Let's see. We can chat about it in the week. See what works for your calendar. But maybe it's not a Sunday stream next week. I don't know.
One last Vardy party against Ipswich. What do you think of that, Johnny?
I mean, I think that he's got a chance. I think there's better picks. That if Vardy scores, he's getting 1 and maybe 3 bonus, and it's like a 9-pointer. But I don't see brace potential and hat-trick potential in a player like Vardy. Like in a team like Leicester, they just don't score enough, do they?
Yeah, Leicester are meh. Very, very meh.
Leicester aren't coming back to the Premier League anytime soon either, are they? They don't feel like they've got that foundation now to bounce back, spend money, get a good manager in. The core of the squad feels very Championship. Like I'm gutted because they're my local team and I want them to do well. I'm 40 minutes from Leicester, but I can't see them being one of those teams that come straight back up. Annoyingly, and from all the teams like Ipswich, quite well set for the Championship. It's the same manager, the same team. Maybe they've got a chance of playoffs and coming back up. Southampton, probably not going to see them in a while either. It's interesting. What do you reckon about new promoted teams coming back up?
Yeah, I can't see Leicester come back up since Maresca. I mean, they've been so poor. Southampton, no chance. They're probably one of the worst teams we've seen in recent history, aren't they?
I know they are bad, mate. The best hope Southampton have got is hiring the guy they sacked in Russell Martin, because at least he's the guy that got them out of the Championship with that team of players.
Yeah, Russell Martin, and they got rid of him fairly early as well.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? And they bought in, Juric was never going to keep him up.
Nah,
he'd never managed in the league before. He was rubbish in Serie A. Like, it's a really weird appointment.
Yeah.
Same with Van Nistelrooy, though. Van Nistelrooy was the weirdest appointment. Like, yeah.
No big CV behind them. Yeah, I think that was odd. Ipswich, on the other hand, though, I could see them back up.
Yeah, they've kept the manager.
Depends what happens with the lap as well.
That got out the team, out the Championship, so they've got a chance.
Yeah, they definitely have a chance. Okay, Johnny, let's start to wrap up. We're just at the 40-minute wrap. Again, lads, I hope you did enjoy the stream, and if you did, do hit that like button. We do appreciate you every single Sunday. Johnny, anything last you have to say?
No, I don't think so. Other than I hope Chelsea get Liam Delap and Spurs don't, or Man United don't. Let's see, because he is the one player that does leave that Ipswich team. We know with that relegation clause he's got at 40 mil. Let's see.
And I hope Spurs win that final come next time.
We'll speak more about that next week, won't we?
Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you, and we'll see you in the next